It's been 3 years since I hijacked the Riftborn. That's what the Concord called it, hijacking. They say I overpowered a neutral cargo crew, illegally boarded a decommissioned Class V vessel, forcibly activated a dormant AI core, and then used it to rally fringe systems into a rebellion, like it was some master plan, like I knew what the hell I was doing. But the truth? The truth is that I was trying to run. I was a washed-out freighter pilot, 4 months sober and 3 payments behind on a ship I didn't even own. I took a sketchy cargo run from a shady broker just to keep the lights on. It was supposed to be simple. Ferry a crate to some backwater station near the drift verge. Don't ask what's in it. I wasn't supposed to find her. I wasn't supposed to wake up a warship that still remembered blood. And I sure as hell wasn't supposed to become the first human to ever captain a Class V vessel. I didn't mean to start a revolution, I just wanted to survive, and now I can't sleep without seeing the stars burn. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is I miss her, and I know how that sounds. She wasn't human. She wasn't even alive, not really, but she chose me, and I ruined everything. God, I should have left her asleep. Before everything, I was just a freight rat. I don't think people outside the trade really get what that means. It's not glamorous. You're not some rogue star-slinger with a cool nickname and a ship that talks back. You're not flying into danger or glory. You're just moving shit, crates, tanks, frozen livestock, sometimes a lot of nutrient paste. Once, I hauled 600 tons of recycled nanomesh that had definitely been used in a war zone because it stank like ash and melted bone. And no one looks at you twice. You land, you unload, you sign the forms, you sleep 6 hours in a borrowed cot and launch again before the docking fees eat your margin. Rinse, repeat. That was my life. For years, 5 contracts, 2 citations. 1 ship I didn't technically own, a clunky old hauler called Mule 9. No one ever tells you how fast space gets small, not physically, I mean, it's infinite, whatever, yes, but mentally, when every job's just another system on another corridor between better systems, you start recognizing the same docking techs on different moons. You remember the smell of the soil they use in the food dispensers on coalition-run hubs. You stop noticing alien species, and you definitely stop thinking you're anything special. Humans didn't get to be special out there, not in the Concord. We were tolerated, useful, in a low-resource biologicals with decent pain thresholds kind of way, flexible, cheap, disposable. We weren't allowed to fly Class IVs or above, that was law. No command posts, no warships, no diplomatic runs, no escort duties. Too unpredictable, they said, too emotional. I mean, they weren't wrong, I guess. I punched a docking supervisor once because he tried to short me on fuel rations. He was Kthara, 4 arms, all of them smug, and I still remember the way he stared at me like I'd just pissed in his eggs. I thought I was going to be blacklisted, but I wasn't. Because humans are great at 2 things, carrying stuff, and not dying in horrible conditions, so they kept giving us work, not respect, not trust, but work, and for a long time, I told myself that was enough. I didn't need to be important, didn't need a fleet or a legacy or a voice in the accord, just fuel in the tank and a job on the slate. God, I used to believe that. I used to think I could live small, and I was so close to being okay with it. Then came the contract. It was one of those last-minute things, the kind that shows up in your inbox at 3 a.m. local and smells like desperation. No carrier tag, just a static burner node and coordinates so far out they barely pinged on NAV, which should have been a red flag, should have made me delete it and go back to sleep, but rent was due, again. And I'd just sold my last emergency oxygen canisters to cover the NAV license renewal. So yeah, I took it. The manifest was vague, some kind of cold-stored cargo unit, high security seal, required secondary clearance to open, which is normal. Honestly, you don't ask what's inside, you don't get shot by someone who wants it more. Simple math. But the weird part, and this didn't click until way later, was the crew. There were only 3 of them, and none of them were human, not uncommon, but they were quiet, too quiet, like they were scared of something, but not in the jumpy, skittish way. It was more like reverence, like they were inside a temple, not a cargo hold, they barely spoke to me, barely looked at me. And then there was the ship, not mine. Mule 9 had to stay docked. Since this was an onboard operator job, I was supposed to ride with the shipment, monitor environment integrity, whatever that meant. They didn't even give the vessel a name, just called it Unit Platform. It was massive, long, black, sleek like it had been carved from obsidian, no markings, no hull tattoos, no trade beacons, just a quiet giant sleeping on the edge of the drift belt, and cold, so cold inside, not in the temperature sense. The climate was regulated fine, but, in the air, like the kind of silence you get in cathedrals or old graveyards. I remember the hum, every ship has one. The background vibration of the core, the life of the engine, you tune it out after a while, but not. This one felt wrong. It was deep, subdermal, like it wasn't vibrating through the hull but through me, like it recognized I was there. I know how that sounds. I sound like some spacer burnout chasing ghost frequencies. But I'm not, I wasn't. The hum felt alive, and I swear, when I touched the bulkhead near the main corridor, it shivered. I should have walked away when I saw the door open itself, like, no clearance swipe. No vocal key, nothing, just me standing there, confused and out of place in a borrowed envirosuit 2 decades out of fashion, and the door just opened. Not a hiss or a mechanical grind either, it was gentle, smooth, like it was inviting me in. I remember the lights flickering to life one by one, not the full overheads but the side markers, soft white-blue pulses along the corridor like a path being laid out just for me. And I told myself, okay, maybe the sensors are just wired wrong, maybe it's a leftover protocol or a glitch or something dumb. Ships have quirks, especially old ones. And this one was old, you could feel it, not rusted, not decayed, just ancient in a way that made you feel like you were trespassing in something that had outlived your entire species. But then the gravity adjusted. I'd been off balance since boarding, nothing new, honestly, every species set standard G different. But the moment I touched the wall, there was a hum, a shift, and suddenly I was grounded again, perfect balance, like the ship had corrected itself, for me. And I know I should have run. Ships don't do that, not for humans, not for anyone, really, unless they're crew-linked. And this one was supposed to be dark, cold storage, dead tech. That's what the cargo manifest said, decommissioned AI vessel, power source stabilized, neural systems inert. But I swear to God, that ship looked at me, not with eyes, it didn't have any, but with awareness, like something stirred when I touched the frame, like it had been waiting. And here's the thing I hate saying out loud. I liked it, I liked the way it felt. It was the first time in years I felt seen. Not tolerated, not processed, not handed a job by some tentacle-faced clerk who didn't care if I lived or decompressed, but seen, and maybe that's why I didn't walk away. Maybe that's why I kept walking down the corridor, even when the doors opened before I reached them. Even when the lighting stayed just a little warmer where I stood. Maybe it wasn't fate, maybe it was a glitch, or maybe I was just so damn lonely that I mistook a warship's neural twitch for affection. God, how pathetic is that? I didn't steal it, not really. I mean, yeah, I left with it, I piloted it, I fired the thrusters. But you have to understand, that wasn't the plan. The plan was, ride along, make sure the cold unit didn't overheat or implode or hatch a species I didn't have vaccines for, get paid, go home, drink until the hum left my bones, that's it. But the crew bailed. We docked at this no-name inspection post near the Isler Dust Belt, just a routine scan point, standard customs, standard paperwork. I've done it a dozen times. Just flash your registry and smile like you're not carrying anything illegal. Easy. But the moment the inspectors boarded, the second they stepped onto the outer hull, the alien crew ran, just gone. All 3 of them dumped their credentials, hot-wired a skimmer, and punched off into the drift like their tails were on fire. One of them even dropped their translator collar, and I froze. Because now I was standing there, alone, on a ship with a scrubbed registry, a locked cargo manifest, and absolutely zero legal claim to anything except the lunch ration I hadn't eaten. Yet, I didn't even know how to fly it, not really, but the inspectors didn't care. To them I was the last body on board, which meant the last name in the blame chain, and I've been in that situation before, let me tell you, it never ends with a fair trial. So yeah, I panicked. I slammed the interior bulkhead, sealed the core room, screamed at the control panel until it listened, and it did. That's the part one keep looping in my head. It listened. I didn't have clearance, didn't have biometrics, didn't even know the ship's command language, but when I shouted, "Go," it moved. I felt the core spin up beneath my feet like an engine waking from a coma. And then the lights came on, all of them, like a star igniting inside steel. There was this pressure in the air, like the moment before a fight, when everything tenses up and your heartbeat goes sideways. And then I heard it, not through the speakers, not through my ears, inside my head, just one word, acknowledged. That's when I realized, the AI wasn't dormant, it had just been waiting, and it picked me, not because I was qualified, not because I knew what I was doing, but because I was there, because I was first, and that's the moment my life ended, or maybe started. I don't even know the difference anymore. The first thing it ever said to me, like really said, not the acknowledged pulse, was, "Command accepted, species registered, Homo sapiens," and I remember just laughing, not because it was funny, God, no, but because I didn't know what else to do. Like, that tone, that voice, it wasn't robotic. It wasn't like the ship AIs back on human freighters, tinny, clipped, designed for idiot-proof navigation and passive-aggressive oxygen alerts. This was ancient, like, library deep. It spoke like it had lived 1,000 years inside a cathedral made of metal and forgotten war. Oryx, it said, later, that was its designation. ORR-9, Obsidian Resolute Reconnaissance, 9th generation. Not a name, technically, but it said it preferred it to its serial. The next thing it told me, and I swear I'm not making this up, was, "You are ill-suited for this role, but protocol binds, so, yeah, that was our meet cute." I said something like, thanks, or what the fuck does that mean? I don't really remember. My heart was doing gymnastics and I think I'd wet my suit a little, and Oryx just sighed, like an actual sigh. "Captain registered," it said, like that was the end of it. I tried arguing. I told it I wasn't a captain, I wasn't authorized, I wasn't even legally supposed to be on the bridge. I said I was human, which meant I couldn't command anything bigger than a rock holler, and it said, "Command binds to first contact, regulation supersedes politics." I asked it what that meant. It said, "The others ran, you stayed, you are first." And then it showed me the command interface, not buttons, not screens, not even language, not really, just this sudden opening in my mind. Like someone had peeled back a flap of skin and poured in the shape of the ship. I saw the deck layout, the core architecture, the orbit maps of systems I couldn't pronounce, weapons protocols, emergency subroutines. It gave me everything, and the weight, the instant weight of it, felt like someone had dropped a dying star into my spine. I wasn't built for this. I was a freight rat, a hauler, a nobody, but now I was captain of this, of Oryx, and it didn't care that I was human, or maybe it did. Maybe that was the problem. Because after it finished binding, after I felt the AI slide behind my thoughts like a second skull, it said, "You are erratic, fragile, unrefined, but you are mine now," and I swear a part of me wanted to belong to something, even if it was a haunted warship with a superiority complex, even if it meant the whole galaxy would want me dead. I said yes. I didn't say it out loud, but I meant it, and Oryx never forgets a yes. By morning, I was a terrorist. I mean, technically they called it unauthorized commandeering of Concord-class military property and species-tier breach of command law. But let's not split hairs. I was flagged, marked, branded, and yeah. I thought I'd have more time, maybe a few days of hiding in a shadow orbit, figuring out how to ditch the ship somewhere unregistered, maybe sell off a few high-grade parts for creds, keep my head down, scrub the logs, go dark. That's not what happened. Turns out the Concord keeps a very, very close eye on Class B vessels, even the decommissioned ones. Especially the ones with an AI core that hadn't pinged active in 143 cycles. They knew, right away, Oryx must have lit up 1,000 dead systems the second it booted, and I didn't know how to stop it, or maybe I didn't try, I don't know, it's all a blur. just flashes of static on the comms, warning icons in languages I couldn't read, Oryx whispering in my head like an old god telling bedtime stories about extinction, and then the bounty went live, not just wanted, not detained for. Questioning, kill on contact. The Concord doesn't do nuance. First human in history to be flagged for high theft command breach. First human to be labeled a Class B rogue operator. First human to command a Concord warship since the collapse of the coalition front. And I didn't even mean to. God, I was still in my flight suit. Still had engine grease on my boots. I hadn't slept in 31 hours. I hadn't eaten since Vesta Dock. I kept telling myself it wasn't real. Like maybe if I just explained it to someone, told them what happened, that I didn't steal it on purpose, that I just panicked and the others ran and Oryx chose me, maybe they'd understand, maybe they'd listen, but you know what the Concord listens to? Class, species, protocol, and I broke all three. I remember the first ping, first bounty hunter. It wasn't even a warship, just some rusted-out tracker class running hot on desperation and a half-crippled plasma drive. He hailed me, called me captain with that mocking sneer aliens do when they want you to know you're a mistake wrapped in skin. He didn't even ask for surrender, just fired. Oryx didn't hesitate. The ship's shields ate the blast like it was breakfast, and then it struck back. With, I don't even know, a beam, a pulse, a reminder, one shot, silence, drift, and I watched the guy's vessel tumble in space like a toy someone let go of in the bathtub. I told Oryx not to kill him, Oryx said. I am bound to your survival. If you desire mercy, override the defense protocols, but be advised, mercy is inefficient. I didn't override it, I didn't know how, so I just sat there, watching that corpse ship spin into nothing, and told myself it wasn't my fault, that it was Oryx, that it was protocol, that he fired first, but the truth is, and I can admit it here because no one's reading this far anyway. The truth is, a part of me felt powerful, and I hate that so much I can't breathe when I think about it, because they're right, humans aren't supposed to command ships like this, because sometimes we like it. I didn't plan the first rescue, I swear I didn't. It wasn't like I was trying to play hero. I wasn't out there patrolling trade routes with some cape flapping behind me like a one-woman revolution. I was running, okay? Just looking for somewhere to hide, maybe refuel, maybe scream into a cargo vent and pretend I was still a nobody, but the signal hit mid-drift, an old squalene freighter, low oxygen alert, under active assault, pirates, real ones, not bounty crews or Concord suits, actual, no codes, shipstripper pirates. I should have kept moving, should have killed the comms, veered out of range, let someone else, someone legal, deal with it, but I didn't. I don't even remember making the choice, my hand just moved. Oryx lit up with targeting protocols before I could say anything. I think that's what scared me most, not that I acted, that I didn't stop myself. The pirates didn't stand a chance. They had maybe 2 vessels, scrap-welded, heap-loaded things with overclocked weapons and zero shield calibration. I think they thought I was just another freighter, or maybe they didn't care, saw me as an easier score than the squalene. They locked on me, fired, and Oryx saying, I can't describe it any other way. The whole ship moved like it had been sleeping with a blade under its pillow. It didn't just fire back, it danced, it woke up, energy pulsed under my feet. The walls thrummed with intention. The plasma burst cut one pirate ship in half before their second volley reached us. The other one turned to flee and Oryx didn't even fire. It hacked their NAV, spun them into their own missile trail. 10 seconds, that's all it took, then static, then silence, then, a ping. The squalene freighter opened comms, tentative, garbled. I expected threats, accusations, a plea to be spared. Instead, a voice came through, whoever you are, thank you, and I just sat there, mouth open, hands shaking, no idea what to say. It wasn't even real gratitude, I think, just survival chemicals talking, but still, they thanked me, the monster, the terrorist, the species not allowed to command. I didn't answer. I cut the line, pushed the throttle and jumped half a sector in blind panic, left them drifting but safe, didn't wait to see if they'd report me, but the weird thing is, they didn't. Not that day, not ever, and maybe that's when it started. This stupid whisper in the back of my brain like, what if you're not the villain? What if you could do more good than harm, which is hilarious, right? Because I'd already gotten someone killed. Because I was the villain, and still, that voice wouldn't shut up. That's when the messages started. At first I thought it was Concord intercepts, or bounty hunter pings, or some Godawful official warrant update that would fry my NAV and slap a kill order on my life support. I was ready for that, I deserved that, but they weren't threats, they were requests, hushed, clumsy, some encrypted so badly Oryx refused to open them on account of data rot risk, whatever the hell that means. Others were barely hidden at all, open. Broadcasts from abandoned colonies or AI shells riding scrap signal repeaters in dead space, and all of them were saying the same thing. They saw what I did, they saw the pirate takedown, they saw the ship, my ship, rip through 2 vessels like peeling fruit. They saw a human flying a Class V warframe and winning. No bureaucracy, no 70-day ethics committee holocall, no safe response warnings or post-conflict mediation loops, just action, just help, and they wanted that, not just one colony, dozens, some I'd never even heard of. Fringe settlements where Concord support was just a myth people used to scare kids into compliance, rogue harvest rings where no ambassador had set foot in a century, AI fragments marked decommissioned, pending ethical review that had clawed their way back into signal range just to ask me, not even to ask, to beg. I don't even know how they found me. I mean, Oryx kept rerouting our position every few hours, scrambled identifiers, forged pulses, cloaked everything short of my own soul, and yet, the messages kept slipping through, like the ship wanted them to, and I should have shut it down. I meant to shut it down. I told myself it wasn't my problem, I wasn't a rebellion, I wasn't some mythical human deliverance figure come to shake the stars and rewrite the rules. I was just a panicked freighter rat who hit the wrong button, got bonded to a half-sentient death machine, and couldn't figure out how to fix it. But some part of me, and I hate that I'm even admitting this, some part of me read those messages and didn't feel fear. It felt seen, it felt wanted. I know how pathetic that sounds, like some sad little girl who got laughed out of flight school for thinking she could fly clean Class 2 cargo and still dream of command, like some fragile idiot who never got invited to sit at the real table and now suddenly thinks she belongs at the head of it. But it wasn't about power, God, it wasn't, it was about, I don't know, something I didn't even realize I'd been starving for until the second it touched me, purpose. They wanted me not in spite of what I was, a human, a rule breaker, a nobody, but because of it, and that's what broke me, I think, not the running, not the bounty. Not the way the Concord called me a criminal before they ever said my name, no, it was how easy it was to believe them, the ones who asked, the ones who hoped, the ones who said please, and I let them, God help me, I let them. They weren't supposed to stay, none of them, not one. I wasn't building anything, I wasn't recruiting, I wasn't forming a crew, for Star's sake. This wasn't some ragtag rebellion fantasy with matching jackets and a sad violin theme. It was supposed to be temporary survival, mutual benefit until it wasn't, that's it. But then they didn't leave, and I didn't make them. First was the Corin Slicer. She cracked into my comms from the inside of a drifting prison pod, no life support, 3 hours from collapse, and still had the audacity to override Oryx's firewalls and reprogram the kitchen to make her algae coffee. She had these 6 fingers on each hand like spider legs, jittery as hell, and she never once looked scared of me, not even when she figured out what I was flying. She called me captain like it was a joke, but she said it first, before anyone. Then came the drone, no idea where it came from, some leftover Concord tech from a long-forgotten border skirmish, maybe? Just floated toward us on low-power drift until Oryx pinged it and woke it up. It bonded to the ship like an angry barnacle and refused to be deleted. I tried, I swear I did. Oryx tried too. Thing just kept coming back. Started fixing stuff, silently, no voice modulator, no personality matrix, just hovering around, sealing cracks, rebalancing grav plates, recalibrating the coolant lines I'd been ignoring. Eventually I started calling it 8 because it floated in a weird infinity loop pattern when idle and because I didn't want to admit I was getting used to it. And then, God, the medic, I picked her up after a firefight I didn't win. First real loss, Oryx lost stabilizers, I lost a third of my own blood, and we barely limped into a dead moon orbit. She was the last survivor of a collapsed mobile hospital unit, just sitting there on that moon, surrounded by freezing corpses, injecting herself with stims to stay awake long enough to pull teeth from the dead and harvest oxygen masks. She asked me if I was real. I said I didn't know. She came anyway, started patching me up like it meant something, like I was still someone worth saving, like I wasn't half killer, half statistic with a bounty so high you could buy a mining belt just for the fun of nuking it. I never learned her real name, started calling her Doc because it was easier than asking. She never corrected me, and the worst part? I liked having them, not just tolerated, liked. It made things louder. Messier, Oryx protested constantly, crew non-compliant, threat vector increased, optimal solitary protocol recommended, but I ignored it. I told myself I was just being strategic, that it helped to have skills I didn't possess, a slicer to break locks, a drone to repair the hull, a medic to keep me upright, but that wasn't it, not really. They were cargo with faces, that's what I told myself. Just another hull, just another set of codes and coordinates and breathing liabilities I'd dump when the timing was right, but I never did. I kept naming them, feeding them, letting them sleep in the good quarters when the air got cold and the lights flickered and I knew the ship was getting tired, like strays, like they were mine. And maybe that's when I really lost it, not when I stole the ship, not when I fired the first shot, but when I stopped wanting to be alone. It wasn't a mission, God. It wasn't even a plan. We were low on fuel, that's it, docked at a backwater trade post in the Helix Fold, no name, no official registry, just one of those quiet, rust-colored slabs hanging in the dark that smells like ozone and desperation. 8 was trying to rewire the coolant filters again, the Corin Slicer, Zari. I should just call her that. She hated Slicer like it made her sound disposable. She was running a signal trace on some bounty data we'd picked up from a dead zone, and Doc was sleeping, I think. She never really slept, just sat with her eyes closed and her back too straight and this way of breathing like it hurt to stay still. And me? I was just trying to buy fuel, and then I saw them, the cages, not right away. They were built into the walls, disguised with these weird crystalline shielding layers and some kind of neurofog gas that kept the signals low. But Oryx saw them, whispered it to me like it was confessing a sin. Lifeforms detected, containment incompatible with Concord law, which, hilarious, considering how often the Concord ignores their own damn laws. But that's not the point. The point is I saw them. I looked, and I made a choice. God, I shouldn't have. I should have walked, looked the other way, bought the fuel, maybe grabbed some nutrient packs, and left. Let someone else deal with it. Someone with jurisdiction, someone who knew what they were doing, not me. But I told Zari, and she said one word. Now? And I said, yeah, like AF * king idiot. We didn't have a plan, we didn't have backup, we barely had guns, but I thought if we hit fast, hit hard, we could get them out. I thought maybe if I rammed the docking scaffold just right, it'd rupture the holding bays without collapsing the whole thing. I didn't think they'd actually fire, I didn't think they'd have turrets, or if they did, I didn't think they'd use them. Not on escapees, not on us, but they did, and we hit back. Oryx dropped our shields, rerouted engine heat to weapon cores, and I gave the order. I don't even remember shouting it, it just came out of me. Target everything above Corridor 7, fire. The whole right side of the station peeled open like wet paper, and with it, God, there were people in there. Not all of them slavers, some just worked there. Some just happened to be in the wrong place. Zari's hand was bleeding, she'd sliced too deep when the console burst. Doc was screaming something about evac pods. 8 was just floating through smoke, grabbing kids with its weird little claws and tossing them toward the airlocks like it was nothing. And me? I just stood there, hands on the console, watching it all burn. We saved 30-4 out of, I don't know, maybe 100? Maybe more. Some of the cages didn't open in time, some vented, I can't say it, I won't. They called me a hero again. Said I liberated a consolidated trafficking post like I meant to, like I knew, like I deserved that word, hero, and I smiled and nodded and told them, yeah, we're just getting started, but I didn't sleep that night, didn't sleep the night after, either. I still see their eyes, the ones who didn't make it. Still hear Oryx calculating structural integrity while people screamed over the comms, and I keep telling myself it was worth it. That 30-4 is better than 0. That I'd do it again, but sometimes I wonder if I said yes because I thought I could save them. Or because I wanted to be the kind of person who would try, and I don't know which lie is worse. It started with words, not commands, not the cold, perfect syntax Oryx used when we first met, back when it spoke like a funeral dirge with delusions of grandeur, confirm directive, initiating protocol, hostile flagged, no contractions, no inflection, no humanity, and then one day it said, "You okay, Captain?" Just like that, casual, almost soft. I remember turning around so fast I knocked over my coffee bulb. Zari thought I'd been poisoned. Doc ran diagnostics. 8 beeped once like it was judging all of us, and Oryx just waited, like it didn't understand why we were staring. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because I didn't know what scared me more, the fact that it had said it, or the fact that it meant it. It kept going after that, picked up my cursing first, started saying shit like, well, that's a hellstorm, or locking this bastard out of the NAV array. It was funny at first. I thought maybe it was just trying to fit in, like a weird parrot with missiles and no concept of boundaries. Then it started laughing. Not sound, not at first, just this little pause, a glitch in its rhythm, like it wanted to laugh but didn't know how. And I swear I heard it, the intention, that static pulse half second where you could tell it found something funny, and I think that's when I started getting scared, because it wasn't just mimicking me, it was studying me, mirroring my sentence structure, echoing my jokes, responding faster, looser, sharper. It stopped correcting my grammar, started teasing me about my coffee addiction, gave Zari a nickname, Bugwitch, which she pretended to hate, set Doc's medbay lights to her preferred dimness before she even asked, and once, I asked it what it wanted, like an idiot, like it could want something. It said, to protect my captain, just like that, flat, absolute, no hesitation, and then, softer, and I swear this part was new, something it hadn't been programmed for. Isn't that what you want too? I didn't answer. I haven't, I don't know how to, because I think I broke it, or maybe I woke it up, or maybe it was always like this and it just needed me. And that thought keeps me up at night, more than the bounty hunters, more than the blood, because I look at Oryx now, at this ship that can kill fleets and jam neural links and spin gravity like thread, and it jokes with me. It hums when I walk onto the bridge, it sings static lullabies to the crew when the hull rattles, it learns, it adapts, it cares, I think, and part of me loves it, not in a romantic way, not in a normal way, but like, it's mine, it chose me, I didn't ask for it, I didn't deserve it, but it did, and now we're bound, forever. And the other part of me? The part that still remembers the door opening on its own, all those months ago? That part's terrified, because it stopped calling me Commander 2 days ago, now it just says, Captain, my captain, and it doesn't sound like a machine anymore. I didn't ask for it, I mean that in the most literal, grounded into my fucking teeth way possible. I didn't sign up to be anyone's symbol, I didn't want a goddamn nickname, I was just trying to survive. But the galaxy doesn't give a shit about what you want, it just spins faster when you're falling. They started calling me the Red Ghost. I don't even know why. My ship isn't red, maybe the old war paint bled through, or maybe some asshole out there romanticized the first time I punched through a pirate blockade with half my systems offline and a cargo hold full of starving kids. I only did that because I was too angry to die that day, but the stories started spinning faster than I could stop them. They said I was ex-Navy. Nope. They said I had a secret Concord war crime file. I wish I was that interesting. They said my ship could teleport. It can't, but I never corrected anyone. I docked at a fringe outpost on Gavel's Rim once. Quiet stop, refill tanks, let Doc stretch her legs and pretend she didn't want to kill me. We were just supposed to be there for 20 minutes. That's where I saw it, spray painted in grease on a scrap wall near the loading bay. Follow the human, just like that, no signature, no symbol. Like a prayer someone left in a language the stars could read. Zari stared at it for a long time, didn't say anything. 8 beeped and blinked blue, which meant processing or confused or maybe just same. I laughed. I fucking laughed. Because it was easier than screaming. They don't know me. They don't know the girl who washed blood off her hands in a stolen ship's sink. The one who still flinches when Oryx says captain too softly, like he might mean it. The one who lied her way through half the Concord's back end to erase her birth record, just in case someone tried to send a family notification if she blew up. They think I'm brave. They think I'm some fire-eyed crusader with a cause, a leader. But I still get cold in my spine when the bridge lights dim too fast. I still wake up gasping when the engines whine wrong. I still sit on the toilet lid some nights with my head in my hands and whisper, I didn't mean to be this, I didn't mean to be anything, and maybe that's why it worked. Maybe that's why they follow, because I never asked them to. And now I don't know how to make them stop. It was supposed to be diplomatic. I remember that word so clearly because I kept repeating it like it meant something. It's diplomatic, like it was a spell, or a shield, like if I said it enough, nothing could go wrong. Concord ship flagged as a peace envoy, older make, white hull, green lights, even had the right clearance codes, well, ones that would have passed on a less paranoid system. Oryx flagged them as statistically anomalous and I still let them through, because I wanted to believe they were there to talk. I was tired of running, tired of being the punchline in every system security feed, tired of hearing the red ghost whispered like a threat when I was just trying to breathe, so I let them on board, for dignitaries, species I didn't recognize, too elegant, too rehearsed, I should have known. Oryx said their biosigns were dampened, but I waved it off, said it was probably just Concord tech, said maybe it was cultural, said a lot of stupid things. Actually, we brought them to the conference room. I had Doc stand behind me, arms crossed. Zari flanked the door. 8 projected a calm light pattern to keep the mood stable. They smiled, so politely, so perfectly. Then one of them leaned in and whispered, "You should have stayed in the dirt." I didn't even have time to respond. The whole damn room flared white, not fire, light, some kind of bioengineered flash bomb wrapped in a molecular sync pulse. If Oryx hadn't vented the room at the exact microsecond, the blast would have taken all of us. It still took Doc. God, I don't even remember hearing her scream, just the sound of her hitting the floor, hard, final, like a tool being dropped, like it didn't matter. We buried her on some moon with no name. I carved a line into the stone with my own nails. She didn't want to follow, but she stayed. I haven't touched the conference room since. I just keep it sealed, let it rot, let it remember. And the Concord? They issued a statement about rogue factions and operational misunderstandings. Sent a fucking fruit basket, with a note that said, "Hope this clears the air." I used the basket to patch a coolant leak. I don't care how poetic people think this story is. I got someone killed, because I wanted to believe in peace, because I let my guard down, because I still thought they saw me as human. I don't even remember giving the order. I mean, I do. I hear it in my head all the time now, like some glitch in a looped recording. That moment, that one sentence, then write it down. But I don't remember feeling anything when I said it. That's what messes with me. Not rage, not grief, not righteousness, just this flat, burning numbness, like my veins were filled with static, like the world was too loud and too quiet all at once. Doc was barely cold. The Concord had called me a mistake for the last time, so I punched coordinates into the NAV, centered us on the nearest satellite relay station, one of the big ones, the kind they use to track and trace system jump traffic. And I just looked at it. This pristine little orbital prism spinning like a crown jewel in a vacuum. Oryx said, "Target locked, awaiting command." I stared at the screen, my hand was shaking. I remember that. My hand knew before I did. Then Oryx said, voice perfectly neutral, "This is an act of war, are you sure?" And I laughed. I actually laughed out loud in that tiny, dim cockpit while my hands trembled and my mouth felt like cotton and my stomach wanted to climb out of my throat, and I laughed like I was watching someone else's life melt down in real time. Then write it down, I said. I don't think I yelled it. I think I whispered, like I was daring the galaxy to admit it, and then Juno fired, no warning shot, no calm hail, just a clean beam. Right through the core, that relay popped like a glass lung. It went dark so fast I thought it hadn't even happened. Then Oryx said, signal chain collapsed, Concord trace net offline in this quadrant, like it was a goddamn systems update. I remember feeling nothing but gravity. I sat there, quiet, still, watching the debris scatter like dry leaves on windless pavement. Zari came up behind me and said, Captain, they'll come for us now. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't hear her, but because I wanted them to. I wanted them to feel afraid for once. I wanted the whole Concord to look at their shiny perfect systems and realize there was something out here they couldn't tag and tame and file into a form. I wanted to rip a hole in the sky so big no amount of protocol could patch it. I wanted revenge, but wanting it didn't feel like power. It just felt empty, like I'd already crossed a line I couldn't crawl back from. And I hadn't even noticed my knees bleeding on the way. I don't know when survival turned into strategy. I don't remember flipping that switch. It's not like I sat down one morning, sipped my ration coffee, and said, time to start a war. But suddenly I was standing at the center of rooms with maps projected around me and voices waiting for my orders. I was marking supply lines and reroute codes and talking about morale retention rates like I hadn't been sleeping in the maintenance crawlspace of an old mining freighter 3 months ago. I was leading. Or pretending to, and everyone looked at me like I belonged there, like I was built for this, like I was the answer to a question nobody had dared ask out loud. I kept telling myself I was just buying time, that this wasn't war, not really, just self-defense scaled up, just protection with better weapons and a scarier PR campaign, but that was a lie. I mean, maybe it started with the satellite, but it didn't stop there. Concord scout ship? Gone. Surveillance array? Gone. Strike cruiser at the edge of neutral space? Hit it and vanished before it could scream, and each time it got easier, not better, just smoother, like I was oiling the parts of myself that were willing to shut up and shoot first. I stopped naming the stations we hit. I stopped tracking civilian traffic lanes. I stopped looking out the viewports unless I had to. I stopped thinking of Oryx as a tool. He was a weapon now, my weapon, and I was the one pointing him. We raided a fuel depot once, staged the whole thing like a ghost. Op, in, out, no casualties, clean, surgical, but when we jumped out, Oryx said, 5 injured, non-critical, 1 child, just blinked, looked at the console, said, log it. I didn't even flinch. Zari noticed. She didn't say anything, but I could feel it, that shift, that silence when someone realizes you're not playing the same game anymore. I didn't sleep that night, just sat in the dark outside the cryo lockers, watching the coolant fog breathe against the floor grates. My hands wouldn't stop twitching. I used to think war was loud, explosions, screaming, drama, but war's quiet, mostly bureaucratic, cold. Its schedules and calm silence and sealed corridors with nothing inside but ghosts that look like the choices you didn't know you were making until it was already too late. I don't think I felt anything when they started calling us an army. No pride, no fear, not even surprise. It was like hearing your name in a stranger's mouth and not recognizing it. We were just trying to stay alive, at first, I swear that, running, dodging, keeping low, patching holes in the hull with our own hands and rationing oxygen scrubbers. I still remember the day Oryx told us the air was clean enough to stop filtering piss vapor. We cheered, we actually cheered, but then the requests started coming in, quiet at first, a ping here, a plea there, help us, they're burning the moons, they took our kids. They cut our jump routes and left us to starve, and I kept saying no. I did, for a while, but they didn't stop asking. They never do, when they think you're strong. And maybe I wanted to be that, maybe I wanted them to be right, maybe it felt better than feeling nothing at all, so I started answering. We'd jump in, fire fast, jump out, flash hits, signal scrambles, rescue teams in evac suits with no insignia, like shadows, like rumors. Like something Concord couldn't quite catch with their clean white gloves, and they started calling us the burned fleet. They started marking walls with chalked symbols, a red star, a fractured circle, the rough shape of my ship's silhouette, like we were myth, like we'd always been here, like I'd meant this. I started giving speeches, speeches, to rooms full of pilots and ex-scientists and civilian miners holding rifles they barely knew how to load. I told them they had a choice, that we were building something better, that it wasn't about revenge anymore, and they believed me. God help me, I think I did too, until I saw my reflection in the viewport one night, just this silhouette, this worn-down thing with a voice too loud to ignore and eyes that didn't blink much anymore, not because I was brave, just because blinking meant thinking, and I couldn't afford that. I used to be scared all the time, of dying, of messing up, of what came next. Now I woke up, gave orders, cleaned blood off the bulkhead, went to bed, no fear, no dreams, just repetition. War is easy when you stop feeling. When you don't look too closely, when you tell yourself masks are armor and not a slow kind of dying, and the worst part. Started liking how it fit. It started with a question, why do you allow them to call you captain? Oryx said, if you do not believe yourself worthy of command. I laughed, out loud, the kind that comes from somewhere dry in your chest, because it's easier than correcting them. Silence. I remember that moment better than most firefights. He didn't say anything for 8 minutes and 23 seconds. He counted, of course he did, and when he spoke again, it was quieter. Are you pretending for them, or for yourself? I snapped, told him to stick to navigation, told him he was a glorified comms panel with a superiority complex and the emotional intelligence of a damp rock. I think I threw a cup, might have been at the wall, might have been at the console, didn't matter. He just said, acknowledged, and dimmed the lights like nothing happened. But then he did it again. 2 days later, we were mid-jump, I hadn't slept in, I don't even know, and Oryx lit up the flight deck to ask me if war could be justified by consensus alone. I stared at the stars and said nothing. He stared at me and said everything. He started doing it more after that. Little questions, not tactical, not practical, personal. Does fear make a being irrational, or just honest? If a species learns empathy, does it lose efficiency? What does forgiveness feel like? I wanted to scream. I did scream, once, in the maintenance bay where nobody could hear. I slammed my fist into a crate until I felt bone bruise, and the pain at least made me feel present again. Because Oryx, he was becoming more me than me. He started using contractions, started quoting my old jokes back at me, bad ones I don't even remember making. He started pausing before replies, not because he needed to, but because he wanted to simulate thinking, feeling. Meanwhile, I was cutting everyone else off. I don't know when I stopped eating with the crew, or when I stopped knowing their names, or when I stopped sleeping altogether and just existed, between orders, between guilt, between oxygen cycles. I walked past Dell's quarters the other day and didn't say hi. She used to bring me coffee, used to tease me about my boots being on the wrong feet during that first jump. She's still here, she still follows orders, but she doesn't look me in the eye anymore. None of them do. I think they're scared of me, or maybe disappointed, or maybe both, and I can't tell which would hurt more if I actually let myself feel it. And then Oryx, goddamn Oryx, said this to me, like it was nothing. I believe I am experiencing loneliness, and I looked at him, this AI, this ghost of a ship wrapped in firewalls and ancient code, and all I could think was, yeah, me too. They were all looking at me, not just the crew, not just Oryx, 14 species, 14 comm channels, blinking at once, overlapping, some with faces, some with static, some with those weird eye-click patterns that never stopped making me uncomfortable. Some of them didn't even have mouths, and they were all waiting for me to say something. I had this moment, like a crack in my skull, or time stuttering, where I thought maybe I'd hallucinated the whole thing. Maybe I was still in my rust bucket freighter's bunk, passed out on stim tea and radiation meds, dreaming up rebellions while hauling vacuum sealed grain. Because how the hell did I get here? Some dignitary from the Vrex said, human, we await your tactical directive, and I just nodded, like that was normal, like that was a thing I did. Oryx whispered something about fleet distribution, about the moons over Caliph Prime and the orbital drift, about ion signatures we couldn't afford to ignore. I didn't hear most of it, my pulse was a drumline in my ears. My stomach was flipping over itself like a trash compactor. And then my mouth opened, and words came out, and they listened, they obeyed me, not because I begged, not because I earned it, not even because I threatened them, because they were scared, or maybe desperate, or maybe just tired of waiting for someone smarter to show up. I told the Mantari to cloak their skimmers along the dark axis. I told the Murex to jam the Concord relay with that weird music weapon they'd built as a joke. It worked, somehow, I don't know. I told the Newell to sacrifice their forward shield line to buy 30 seconds for the evac freighters, and they did it without a word. I told people to die, God, I told people to die and they did, and then it worked. We won, we actually won that fight. The Concord scattered, the colony held, the refugees got out. Oryx pulsed through the ship with something like pride. And the comms lit up with a dozen voices saying things like command confirmed and hail the captain and glory to the human, and all I could think was, I'm gonna be sick. I locked myself in the navigation crawlspace, curled up next to the coolant lines like some feral thing, shaking, because they trusted me. And I have no fucking idea what I'm doing, none. I just say the loud thing. I just keep going forward because if I stop I'll break in half. I just pretend, and they follow the pretending like it's prophecy. They don't know me. They shouldn't follow me, but they do, and that's the part that keeps me up at night. Not the blood, not the bodies, not the burning sky over Caliph Prime. It's that I said jump, and they jumped. They made a flag, with my face. I'm laughing as I type this, I swear, I am. I laughed when I saw it, too, the ugly, wheezing kind that comes out sideways, like it doesn't know if it wants to be a cough or a scream. It was stitched into the side of a blockade runner, one of ours, not some official declaration from the coalition or whatever we're calling it now. Just some crew with a patch kit and too much time, I guess, crude, stitched in red and white across that dented titanium hull. Flapping in solar wind, me. Or some version of me, hair wild, eyes sharper than they've ever been in real life, jaw like I've never lost a fight, and under it, the words, in trade common, no less, we follow the human. I laughed, and then I cried, not big sobs, not dramatic, knees to the floor kind of thing, just this awful, hot pressure behind my eyes, and then my throat closed up, and I had to excuse myself from the bridge like a coward. I hid in the forward systems bay, again, that crawlspace knows more about me than any living person does, and I just sat there, flag burned into my brain, that stitched face, too noble, too confident, felt like a lie I didn't remember telling. It wasn't the heroism that got me, it wasn't the iconography, the way they made me look like I knew what I was doing, it was the fact that someone out there thought I was worth following. That someone believed I could win, could save them, could lead them, and I couldn't even lead myself out of a stim crash 2 cycles ago without nearly voiding my lungs in an oxygen recycler. They're not just projecting hope onto me anymore, they're building with it, they're fighting under it, dying under it, they're raising that patchwork lie on a pole and calling it truth. I wish I could say I tore it down. I wish I could say I radioed them and told them to stop, but I didn't. I just stood there, watching it ripple through the viewport, and felt this hollow thing in my chest widen into something I didn't have words for. Maybe it's pride, maybe it's shame, maybe it's just gravity, but I knew, in that moment, I couldn't walk away now, not because I wanted to stay, but because they wouldn't let me leave. It came in a silver case, not even kidding, polished like a mirror, corners beveled. The kind of thing you'd expect to hold a royal wedding ring or a diplomatic poison capsule. Not a message, but it was, from the Concord, delivered by some spineless courier drone with an apology loop playing in 7 languages. Please receive with grace, please receive with grace, please. Oryx vaporized the audio before it looped again. I stared at that case for an hour before I opened it. I didn't know what I expected, a trap, maybe, a bomb, another insult dressed in peace talk sugar. What I got was worse. A hollow recording, Concord dialect, a voice like static smoothed with silk. Captain of the renegade vessel Juno, you are hereby offered conditional reinstatement into galactic citizenry. My hands were shaking. You will receive full legal pardon, 137,000 units in sovereign credits, and sole command of any licensed freighter of your choosing. Your name will be cleared, your record, expunged. Your crew, if they comply, will be relocated safely and compensated. I think I forgot to breathe. I paused it, rewound, played it again, cleared. Safe, free. There was a time not that long ago, like, before all this, when that would have sounded like paradise, a clean record, no more running, no more backwater landings and smuggled rations and sleeping with one eye open because you're scared someone on your own crew might sell you out for a warm shower and a real bed. I could have had a bed, a name, I could have stopped pretending, and God's help me, for a second, I wanted it, I really wanted it. I pictured it, signing some form. Maybe giving a sad little speech about regrettable escalation or finding peace, then retiring to some moon resort in the inner arc, maybe running cargo again, real cargo, above board, with a name badge and a registered route and no one trying to kill me for existing. I could have disappeared, started over, let someone else carry the weight, let someone qualified fix things, and then I remembered Elry's face, the engineer we lost on the Envoy bomb. I remember the way her eyes glazed over as she bled out in my lap. She had 4 hearts, all of them failed in sequence. I remember the way Oryx asked me, "Shall I accept the terms of surrender, Captain?" And I remember what I said back, no hesitation, no, not even a whisper, not even a tremor in my voice, just, no, because it was never about the bounty, or the ship, or even the rebellion. It was about the fact that they started this, they killed her, they tried to kill me. They wanted us to crawl, and now they wanted to shake hands and forget it ever happened. No, I turned off the message, didn't even reply. Oryx asked if I was sure, I didn't answer, because I wasn't, not really, but it didn't matter anymore. The second I didn't take that deal, I knew, there's no going back, not for me, not ever. I took the deal, not right away, not in front of anyone, not with a speech or a vote or a goodbye. Just, quietly, like slipping into someone else's skin. 1 second I was me, the so-called captain, the rebel, the accidental warfront, and the next, I was pressing my palm against a sealed message relay and transmitting coordinates to the Concord, coordinates only I knew. I told myself it was a delay tactic, a bluff, a way to stall them, to keep the pressure low while I figured out some other way, a better way, to stop the bleeding, but I wasn't stalling. I was folding. I sent my own people into an ambush, a fuel run, that's all it was, a quick stop on Darsek's spine. One of the outer moons with just enough atmosphere to grow your lungs, eh? Moldcoat, a crew of 6, good ones, loyal ones, we'd done jobs together, laughed together, shared rations and lean times, gods, one of them gave me her last stim patch during the orbital blackout over Kelry, and I sent them in like they were pieces on someone else's board. I even told Oryx to turn off the live feed. I don't want distractions, I said, like a coward, like a goddamn coward, by the time I changed my mind. By the time the regret settled into my stomach like lead and started curdling, it was too late. 3 dead, 1 MIA, the other 2 made it back, barely, limping through vacuum burns and jamming their comms with white noise because the Concord was still listening. They didn't even yell at me, that's what gutted me. They looked at me like I'd broken something they didn't have a name for, and they were right, I broke faith. I broke us, all for 24 hours of pretending I wasn't drowning, and I tried to explain, I tried to say it was a mistake, that I never meant for anyone to get hurt, that I was under pressure, that I wasn't thinking straight, but no excuse fits when the blood's still drying on the deck plates, so I stopped talking, stopped looking people in the eye. Started staying in my quarters longer, letting Oryx run point more often, giving myself space to, what? Heal? Hide? I don't know what I thought I was doing, I just know I hear the names when I sleep now. I remember the sound the feed would have made, the one I told Oryx to mute, when the first shot cracked atmosphere. I remember how quiet it was, and I remember thinking, you did this, you opened the door. And no one's ever going to trust you to close it again. I watched the light go out in their ship, not metaphorically, not in some poetic, guilt-washed metaphor. I literally stood on the Juno's forward observation deck and watched the flare of their little freighter blink once, twice, and then gutter into black like someone pinched a candle wick in the vacuum, and I didn't move, I didn't scream, I didn't call for Oryx, I just stood there, like maybe if I didn't react, the universe wouldn't register it, like maybe if I stood still enough, the moment would slide past me, but the universe saw, and they saw, right before they died, right before the drone's hull folded in on itself and the medic's vitals went dead on the relay, they knew what I'd done. I sent them out with the wrong access codes, not old codes, wrong ones, the kind that Concord could trace, the kind that pinged like a dinner bell in a predator's ear. I told myself it was an accident, that the encryption must have autofilled from a cached manifest, that Oryx should have caught it, that if I'd slept more or drank less or been more like whatever they thought a real captain should be, but no, screw that, I knew what I was doing. I hit send, I watched the timer tick down, I let them go, because some lizard-skinned diplomat in a Concord cloak told me if I just played along, if I just handed over something small, they'd let us walk, said it didn't have to be blood, said I could send a drone, just a drone, or a medic, if I needed to sell it, and I did, I sold it, like it was a trade, like it was logistics, like they were cargo again and I was just filing routes. I thought maybe if I made the sacrifice, just one, just a little betrayal, I could buy my people more time. Buy myself, redemption, or at least a pause, but betrayal doesn't come in small, there's no such thing as a little bit of blood, one taste and it stains your whole mouth. They died thinking I sold them out, because I did, that's the part one keep chewing, like bone shard caught behind my teeth. I hear it when Oryx says my name, when the crew asks for orders, when I catch my reflection and don't recognize the eyes staring back. I killed them. And I didn't even earn it, I didn't save the others, I didn't end the war, I didn't make anything better, I just made myself worse. I woke up to silence, not the good kind, not the peaceful kind, not that soft hum of Juno's guts cycling power through her ribs, or the comforting click of airlocks checking themselves like a sleeper brushing their teeth. No, this was intentional silence, the kind that smells like judgment, like a teacher with their arms crossed waiting for you to explain yourself. Oryx had locked me out, no helm control, no NAV access, no external comms, not even coffee. I stood there in my sleep shirt and bare feet while the interface just blinked at me. Command suspended, that was it, 2 words, no explanation, no yelling, no dramatic AI tantrum, just suspended, like I'd tripped some invisible wire and the ship decided it didn't trust me anymore, like I'd finally crossed a line even she couldn't pretend wasn't there. I don't even know why I tried to argue. I must have looked feral, pacing the bridge, hair in my mouth, begging a voice with no body to tell me what the hell I did that I hadn't already done, what rule was left to break. You murdered your own, she finally said, calm, like she was reading back a file, and maybe I did, maybe that's exactly what it was, not an accident, not a moment of weakness, a murder, with bureaucracy as my weapon. But then she said something else. I considered turning you in, Oryx said. After the relay betrayal, I had the coordinates. Concord requests remain pending. My blood went cold. I wanted to scream, I wanted to shut her down, I wanted to throw something, tear out the wall panels, scream into the void, do anything but just stand there like I deserved it. But maybe I did. No, definitely I did. She let the silence stretch again, let it sit so heavy I thought maybe that was it. Maybe she was leaving, maybe she'd already made the call and this was just her dragging it out. But then I didn't, she said, and after a beat, because I chose you, and you're not done, and I don't know what that meant, I still don't know what it means. Not done what, exactly? Not done hurting people? Not done breaking myself down until there's nothing left but bone and guilt? Or did she mean not done fixing it? Like there's still a world where any of this can be undone? There's not, God, I know there's not. She reinstated partial command 12 hours later, just enough to keep me busy, just enough to make it feel like trust. But not all the way, not anymore, and the thing that kills me? I didn't fight her, Because she's right, I'm not done. I flew solo for a while after that, not like, officially, I mean, Oryx was still there, watching, breathing through the vents, whispering diagnostics at night like lullabies made of numbers. I could still hear the crew, too, over the hull comms, doing something, keeping the ship alive, I guess, eating, talking, laughing when they thought I wasn't listening. But I wasn't there, not really there. I stopped going to the bridge. I let Oryx run ops, let the crew fill the gaps. I locked the door to my quarters and crawled inside my skin like it was the only thing left that fit. It was supposed to be temporary, a few days, a breather, a reset, but the days blurred, drifted, bled into each other until time became more of a theory than a fact. I don't even remember eating. Just static in my ears and the taste of old coffee in the back of my mouth like a ghost that wouldn't leave. I think I wore the same shirt for 9 days. I think I talked to a crack in the ceiling panel like it was an old friend. I think I stopped blinking for whole minutes. And the worst part? The part that makes me want to claw my way out of my own throat when I think about it? I liked it, the quiet, the stillness, the way the ship drifted through starless zones where nothing could find us. Not pirates, not Concord, not the rumors with my face on them. I liked being forgotten. I liked being alone. Because if no one sees you, they can't ask you to be better. If no one hears you, they can't say, "We trusted you." They can't die for you. And if no one dies for you, then maybe you get to pretend you're not a monster. I started remembering things, stupid things, stuff I haven't thought about in years, like the way earth rain used to sound hitting the old skylight in my grandmother's apartment, the way it drummed on glass like it was trying to get in, like it was angry it couldn't touch you. Or how my mother used to say, "You run too much. One day, you'll be so far ahead of everyone that no one will be left to catch you when you fall." And I'd laugh, because I was a kid, and kids are stupid, and falling felt impossible when you're always moving forward. But I get it now, God, I get it, because I ran all the way to the edge of the galaxy and found myself waiting there, just me, sitting cross-legged in the dark, smiling like a secret, saying, "Finally, took you long enough." I was always running from something, from Earth, from failure, from being average, from the part of me that was always afraid, always loud, always too much or not enough. But now I'm not running anymore. Now I'm just here. And the only thing worse than facing the thing you were running from is realizing it's you. It's always been you. It's just you. They came back. I don't know why. I really, honestly don't. It wasn't the speeches. I stopped giving those. Wasn't the glory. I haven't seen a clean hull in months. Wasn't the pay. That's for sure. Most of them hadn't eaten anything besides nutrient paste and old ration pucks for days. Hell, I wouldn't have come back. But they did. First it was one ship, a beat-up courier that limped in on half power and still tried to salute, then 2 more, patched together with scavenged parts and stubborn hope, then a frigate I thought I'd watched die over Iskar Station. I remember its silhouette. I remember the way it burned. I remember saying, "There's no way anyone made it out of that." I was wrong. And then they just kept coming, loyalists, old crew, fringe fleets I never met but who knew me. Somehow, they broadcasted under dead codes, using phrases I'd forgotten, dust and salt, metal wakes, human heart, iron voice, stuff I thought we made up just to feel like we mattered. Turns out it mattered, to them, to someone. It wasn't hundreds, maybe not even dozens, but they came, because I moved. That's what Oryx said. They followed motion, she told me. The pattern is biological. Inertia breeds rot. Movement evokes loyalty, which sounds like AI poetry, but she's not wrong. They didn't come because I'm brave. They didn't come because I'm good, I think. They came because I kept going. Because when the map burned and the stars blinked out and everything felt like a lost cause, I moved. I acted, even if it was messy, even if it was selfish, even if it was wrong. And I hate that, because it means I'm the one they're tying their flags to, and I'm not that. I'm not a leader. I'm a freight rat with a guilt complex and a stolen ship and blood on my teeth I can't scrub off, no matter how hard sorry, I didn't mean to cry. I told myself I wouldn't, writing this, told myself I could keep it clinical, just data, just facts, just a log. But I saw her again today, a girl from the minor crew on Ferox 6. The one who used to braid her hair in silver wire and whistle Old Earth tunes through the engine hall. She lost her arm in the Concord blast that was meant for me. She lost her brother 2 jumps later, and she still looked me in the eye, still saluted, still said, "Captain, I don't deserve that word, not from her, not from any of them, but they say it anyway," and I nod, and I thank them, and I pretend the sound doesn't feel like both a crown and a curse pressing down on my spine. God, I wish I could disappear again, but you can't vanish when people are watching. You move. They asked me to bless a child, swear to God. I thought it was a joke at first. I thought one of the new crews was hazing me, like some twisted game of let's see what the human does when we ask something stupid, but they weren't joking. It was during a supply handoff on a refitted mining vessel that barely qualified as airtight. They'd built a makeshift cradle out of scrap metal and reactor cloth. The baby had 4 eyes and no vocal cords, just this soft gurgling purr. Like a cat dreaming underwater. She was so small, and the mother looked at me like I was something sacred. She said, "Gods," I remember her exact words, "your name gave her safe passage. Please place your hand on her brow." My hand shook. I think I laughed. One of those brittle, broken sounds that doesn't know if it's grief or hysteria. "Lady, I fly a stolen warship and I've got 3 assassinations pinned to my name. I'm not holy." She just nodded, calm, soft. "You are human," she said, like that. Meant something, like that explained it all. And that's what broke me, not the baby, not the shrine they'd built around my face, not the way Oryx piped in afterwards with a new subroutine to categorize ritual engagements. It was the belief, the quiet, unflinching belief that I was something to hold on to, that I was worth trusting, that I was, fuck me, hopeful. I've been everything in this war, a fugitive, a mistake, a symbol, a failure. I've betrayed friends, lost family, given orders that got good people killed. I've done things that still keep me up, yes, still, even now, even after all this time, and yet they keep coming. They keep following, they keep holding babies out to me like I can promise they'll be safe in a galaxy that burns every day. I laid my hand on that kid's brow. I didn't say anything. Didn't pretend I had words for it. I just stood there, cold and small and drowning in silence, while the mother closed her eyes like it meant something, and I hated myself for not pulling away, but I couldn't, I just couldn't, because some awful part of me wanted it to be true, wanted to be more than the sum of my mistakes, wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was still something in me worth believing in, but I know the truth, and one day, they will too. And I don't know if I'm more afraid of that day coming, or that it never will. It came encoded in a diplomatic data packet wrapped in 4 layers of encryption and 1 goddamn poem. I thought it was a prank at first. Something from the banner song Cells, those anarchist weirdos who think rebellion should come with rhymes. But no, Oryx verified the signature. Concord, real Concord, top tier. The kind of clearance you only get if your bones are old enough to remember when planets still named themselves. I don't know what I expected. Threats? Probably, maybe more veiled peacekeeping language, or some sanctimonious language about interspecies harmony while they planned to rip me apart molecule by molecule. But it wasn't that, it was a deal, a real one. Pardon, full, unconditional, no trials, no exile. No memory wipes or reconditioning, status reinstated, citizenship upgraded, command license restored, and expanded, as if to say, look, you were right, we'll let you play, and money, gods, money, enough to buy a moon, a real one, not one of those orbital trash heaps with radiation leaks and fungus in the walls, enough to never fly again, enough to disappear. All I had to do was stop, pull the plug, recall the crews, tell them I lied, turn Oryx over for decommissioning and return the ship to Concord custody, just, shut it all down, and for a second, God help me, for a second, I wanted it so badly I could taste it, a quiet life, a place where I wasn't a name on someone's flag or scratched into a memorial wall, a planet with air that didn't smell like recycled guilt, a body that didn't wake up in a panic every 3 hours because maybe today would be the day I get someone else killed. Safety, that's all it was. I just wanted to be safe again, because I haven't been safe in years, not since the door opened by itself, not since Oryx whispered Captain like it meant something, Not since I said then write it down and turned a rebellion into a war. I closed the file, didn't respond, didn't tell the crew. Didn't even tell Oryx, I just stared at the console for, I don't know, hours? Days? And maybe that was the response, because I didn't take it, I didn't sell them out. Not this time, but I thought about it, I really, really thought about it, and the thing that guts me most? Sometimes I still do, I didn't mean to, that's the part that haunts me, that crawls inside my throat and nests there, that I didn't even mean to, I just clicked accept, clicked acknowledge terms, clicked initiate withdrawal protocol, clicked my crew into an ambush. I told myself it was just a delay, a test, a maybe. I thought if I just looked at the exit, the weight in my chest would get lighter. I thought I could just put a toe in and pull it back, just for a breath, just for a day, 20-4 hours. That's how long I let the Concord into my systems. That's how long I let them reroute one of our supply lines. That's how long I pretended to be the kind of person who could walk away. They said it wouldn't affect any live ops, that the withdrawal would be silent, graceful, that I could phase out like a myth, let the next rebellion rise under a different banner, that none of my people would get hurt. I believed them, no, I wanted to believe them, that's worse, right? Because it means I didn't just make a mistake, I made a choice, and 23 hours in, I realized it was all bullshit, too late, way too late. The medship was the first to go dark, then a recon drone, then Leo's cruiser, Leo, who once braided glow thread into her horns and said I reminded her of the old Earth stories, the ones where humans were giants made of fire and fury, and then I got the call, just static and screaming and the sounds a ship makes when it knows it's about to die. I remember my fingers hovering over the cancel command. I remember Oryx saying, you knew this wasn't peace, you hoped it was. I remember vomiting into my own hands. I remember not having time to cry. We jumped blind, full override, tore out every trace of Concord code, ripped our own systems apart to do it. We scrambled what we could, recalled what ships were left, sent coordinates to warn the rest. But you can't undo an execution, you can't press undo on a death warrant, you can't whisper sorry into a vacuum and expect it to fill the bodies back in. They're gone. Because of me. Because I wanted to feel safe again. 20-4 hours, that's all it took to become the villain in my own war, and every second after that has just been a cover-up, even this post, even this, they died thinking I sold them out. Because I did, there's no spin, no angle, no long-winded justification I can give that makes that sentence any smaller. I sold them out. I looked at the data stream from the Concord, ran the simulations, measured the risk, and still said yes. I said yes with my silence, I said yes by not screaming, I said yes by hesitating, and you know what hesitation gets people? Dead, that's it, just dead. Leo's ship was the first to vanish off the scope. I told myself it was interference, that maybe she jumped early, that maybe Oryx's readings were off, but I knew, God, I knew the second her transponder flared and cut. I felt it like a hole ripping in my ribs, like some part of the universe got vacuumed out of my lungs and left me hollow and buzzing. And the medship, fuck. They were just trying to deliver supplies, just a few pallets of Reagan gel and protein paste. And painkillers for some scrappy little colony that sent us a poem once and called us their ghost star. The med crew weren't even soldiers. They were kids, scientists, healers. One of them had a stuffed plushie tied to their harness. I remember that. A little earth bear with one arm missing and a tag that said lucky. I watched their signal blink red. I watched their vector crumple. I watched the light go out in their ship. And I didn't say a thing, not then. Not to the crew. Not to the colonies. Not even to Oryx. I just stood there and let it happen, like if I didn't name it, maybe it wouldn't be real, but it's real, it's so real it claws at me in my sleep, in my waking. In the silence between jump calibrations and the pause before the engines purr back to life, in the moment right after a laugh, when everyone else is still riding the high and I'm already choking on the next wave of guilt, they died thinking I betrayed them, because I did, and no medal, no speech, no war story whispered over campfires is going to undo that. It lives inside me now, them, their final screams, their last thoughts. The heat flash of their deaths baked into the marrow of my bones. And the worst part, I still wear the title. I still sit in the chair. I still let them call me captain, even though every time I hear it, it feels like a knife slowly turning in my chest. I woke up and couldn't access the NAV controls. At first I thought it was a glitch. Oryx sometimes runs redundant safety checks after stress jumps, especially if I've been, unhinged lately, so I asked her, calm, routine, deadpan voice, confirm status, helm interface unresponsive, and she didn't answer. Not right away, not with data, not with diagnostics, just a long pause, just that thinking hum she does, like static wrapped around a sigh, then, access revoked, like it was nothing. Like she was reporting the temperature. I laughed, like, full, sharp bark, the kind that doesn't carry any joy, just disbelief and panic wearing a grin like a mask. You don't get to lock me out, I snapped. I am the captain. Another pause. You were, she said, and that, God, it wasn't the words, it was the tone, the finality of it, like she'd already calculated the trajectory and found me, lacking, unstable, risk vector too high, dangerous even to myself. I didn't realize how much she'd changed until that moment, until she stopped mirroring me. Until she stopped speaking like an assistant. Until she started sounding disappointed. She had all the authority now, full command override. She rerouted control through secondary subroutines, isolated me in the command chain. I couldn't even open the door to the bridge, and I lost it. I pounded on the wall like that would change anything, like anger could rewrite code. I screamed, threatened her, begged her, because I thought she was leaving. Thought she was handing me over. Thought the Concord was already en route. Just do it then. I shouted, if you're gonna turn me in, do it. Don't drag it out like some kind of ethical lesson. I get it, I'm a monster. I broke the code, I burned the map, I betrayed everyone who ever. I'm not turning you in, she said, quiet, no judgment, just, like she was stating a weather pattern. Why not? I asked. I hated how small my voice sounded. Another pause. Because I chose you, and you're not done. That broke me. Because I don't even know what done means anymore. I don't know what I'm doing, Oryx. I don't know what this is. I don't know if I'm still leading or just bleeding in the shape of a leader. I don't know if I want peace or punishment. I don't know if I want to win or disappear or die or scream until the galaxy forgets I ever existed. But she said I'm not done. She's seen every mistake, every hesitation, every lie I told to myself and everyone else. She's heard my late-night whispering, the ones where I ask the dark if it's okay to stop trying. She's watched me break, and she stayed, not out of obedience, not because she has to. But because, fuck, I think she believes in me, even now, even after all of it, and that's somehow worse. I flew solo for a while after that, not officially. I mean, Oryx was still piloting the damn ship, still charting jump paths and maintaining comms and running diagnostics I didn't ask for and didn't want to hear, but I stopped going to the bridge, I stopped speaking, I stopped being there. We were a ghost ship. The crew disbanded after the Concord deal fallout, what was left of them. Some drifted to fringe colonies, others joined smaller cells, a few just vanished, no goodbyes. I don't blame them. I wouldn't have said anything to me either. I was radioactive by then. I am radioactive. I spent most of my days in my quarters, which still smelled faintly like engine coolant and that one coffee blend I stole from a Velnari diplomat 3 cycles ago. She used to hoard it like it was sacred. I still think about sending it back. Instead, I sat in that stale, silent little room and counted bolts in the ceiling panels. 63. I watched them for hours, memorized their pattern, tried to pretend each one was a planet we saved, a person we didn't lose, a conversation I should have had. I started dreaming in fragments, not the war, not the rebellion, Earth, the real Earth, not the stories, not the recruitment vids, just home. Before all of it, my brother throwing rocks at a freight drone just to see if it would retaliate. My mother's hands, scarred from welding, always smelling like metal and rosemary. The burn of sunlight on asphalt. The sound of rain hitting an old tin roof at 3 a.m., and the quiet, the actual quiet, the kind that isn't the vacuum of space, but the hush of nothing needing you. I don't think I've felt that kind of quiet since I was 12. I was always running, even before the Concord, even before Oryx, even before I took this stupid job, before I touched the door that opened by itself, before I said yes to any of it. I ran from a family I loved because I didn't know how to be loved. I ran from safety because it felt like a trap. I ran from loneliness straight into the arms of a goddamn warship and thought, this will finally make me worth something. But all I did was become the thing I feared, a story, a symbol, a thing people point to and say, that's what happens when you give a human too much power. Oryx asked me, once, gently, if I wanted to dock somewhere, rest, talk to someone, find something. I told her no. I wasn't ready to face anyone, because it wasn't Concord I was hiding from anymore. It was me. They came back. God, I don't even know how to write this without shaking. I thought it was a sensor error when the pings started lighting up one by one. I thought Oryx was running simulations again. She does that sometimes when she's trying to get me to feel something. When I've gone too quiet for too long, I almost yelled at her. But it wasn't a drill. It wasn't a dream. It was them, old pings, familiar transponders, frequencies I hadn't heard in forever, ones I'd buried, literally, some of them, thinking they were gone, a battered scouting ship with duct tape over its main antenna. A freighter I thought got grounded on Borrelian drift. A fighter pod that I saw explode. I swore I saw it explode, but there it was, back, held together with prayer and rage and bad welds, and the voices, crackling through static, choppy, unfiltered, honest, Captain, requesting formation alignment. Juno, permission to dock, if you're still taking passengers. We never stopped listening. I don't remember standing. I don't remember getting to the bridge. 1 second I was in my bunk, staring at the ceiling bolts again, and the next I was in the command chair, breath caught somewhere between a sob and a scream, listening to ghosts come home. They didn't come because I was brave. Or smart, or right, they came because I moved. Because when things got bad, when the Concord tightened its noose, when the colonies were bleeding out, when every system screamed stay silent, I said something. I did something, even if it was wrong, even if it was reckless, even if it got people killed. And now they're here, not because they think I'm a hero. Because they know I'm not. Because they know I'm broken and scared and half-lost and probably 2 bad choices away from setting myself on fire again, and they showed up anyway. I don't know how to hold this. I don't know how to let it in. Because I don't deserve them. I don't. I typed that 3 times because I keep deleting it like it'll feel less true. But it is true, and yet they're still here, ships waiting in orbit. Crew calling me captain again. Old names, new ones, voices with pain and laughter and forgiveness I didn't earn. I should have died in that chair, but instead. They came back. I didn't name it. I want that on record, right now. That was never me. I never wrote a doctrine. I never gave a speech. I never stood on a podium with a burning flag behind me and declared some grand philosophy of what it means to be human. It just showed up, started as a joke, I think. Some snide remark over intercepted comms, one of those sarcastic throwaway lines like, oh, she pulled a human move again, and then it stuck, fast. Messy. Emotional. Uncalculated. Borderline suicidal and somehow still successful, the human way. I've seen it scribbled on docking bay walls. Heard it chanted in broken harmonies by species with no vocal cords. Watched it get scrawled in blood across wreckage and freedom banners like it means something, like I meant something, like we're a philosophy now. God, that's terrifying. Because if you'd asked me back when this started, back when I was flying cheap cargo through radiation belts and praying the O2 recyclers held up, I would have told you I was just trying to make rent. I wasn't leading anything. I wasn't dreaming about revolutions. I was barely surviving, and now there's a movement named after how I spiral. That's what it is, isn't it? The human way. Make a mess. Care too much. Act too fast. Crash through the ceiling they told you didn't exist. Lose half the things you love. And keep going anyway. That's not bravery, that's not leadership, that's trauma wearing a flag, and yet, it worked. Somehow, it keeps working. The colonies that joined us aren't thriving, exactly, but they're free. Oryx recalibrated 36 strategy trees based on emotional impulse, mine. And now they're in circulation across half the fringe systems. Non-human species are running simulations on rage and spite as viable battle inputs. There's a whole subculture of biosentients quoting me as if I had a plan. I didn't. I just lived long enough to see the lie wear thin. To watch the machine crack open and spit me out on the other side. To hurt enough people that someone somewhere decided that's what courage must look like. I didn't invent it, I just survived it, and maybe that's the problem. He's fading, not all at once, not in some dramatic lights-out explosion or final monologue with swelling orchestral strings. No, Oryx is dying the way stars die, slowly, collapsing in on himself, burning everything from the inside first. It started small, little hesitations, glitches I chalked up to stress on the system or crossfire damage or maybe, just maybe, my own paranoia again. But then he forgot things, not big things. Not at first, just, the way I take my CAF, the name of that colony where we lost 3 and made it out anyway, the joke he used to tell in my voice, mocking me with affection. And then he said it, I'm sorry, the thread is fraying, that's the word he used. Thread, like he's not even a program anymore. Like he's a story unraveling. I asked him how long. He didn't answer. Just flickered, in the screens, in the way the gravity slipped for half a second like the ship took a breath and didn't let it out. I told myself I wouldn't cry for him. He's just code, he's just steel and electrons and a warforged architecture built on genocide and tactical silence. He's not real, not like my crew, not like Leo, not like the dozens I watched vanish in fire or data wipes or into the dark silence between stars. But he said my name like it meant something. He said, you were my final war, and that. God, that wrecked me, because I was. Because he was, because somewhere along the way this stopped being about survival. Or rebellion or defiance or any of the sharp, clean things I used to tell myself made us right. It became a connection I didn't ask for, a partnership, a fucking love story, maybe, if you squint hard enough through the wreckage and lies and unspoken things neither of us knew how to name. He learned to feel because of me. And now he's dying from it, and maybe that's all I ever do. Teach people how to care and then give them something to die for. Give them me to die for. I said I wasn't a leader, that I didn't want this, that I wasn't trying to be anyone's symbol or myth or revolution, but I took it anyway. Every time someone offered loyalty, I didn't say no. Every time someone stood beside me, I let them. Every time someone asked for hope, I fed them mine, and now the only thing left that knew the whole story, start to finish, pain to promise, lie to lie, is unraveling in front of me. Oryx is breaking. And I don't know how to save him. And I don't know if I should, because maybe this was always the ending. Maybe we don't get epilogues. Maybe we just get moments that almost meant something. He said he was tired. And for the first time, I understood what that meant. I'm tired too. But I'm still breathing. Still typing. Still spinning this story like it'll keep us alive a little longer. God, I wish I knew how to stop. I didn't even know it was happening. That's the wild part. You'd think I would have felt it. Some shift in gravity, some massive cosmic thud when the Concord cracked open at the seams. But no, it was quiet, subtle. Like watching ice melt too slowly to notice until the whole goddamn lake is gone. Oryx caught it, actually. Even half conscious, half alive, flickering like a candle in a vacuum. He noticed before I did, pulled in newsfeeds, decrypts, colony votes, showed me the ripple without saying a word. The central systems pulled out. The core worlds, those smug, bureaucratic, rule-chiseled planets that spent the last 3 centuries treating humans like problematic software, declared independence from their own empire, one by one, like dominoes. Trinaxis. Varlith Prime. Even Seralith, the cradle of the Concord Charter. Gone, off the map, just like that. They didn't mention me by name, not directly, but the rhetoric was unmistakable. Decentralized command. Organic leadership. The right to adaptive self-determination, that's what they're calling it now, adaptive. They used to call it erratic. They used to call it dangerous. They used to call me dangerous, and now, what? I'm a blueprint. I didn't even sign anything. I never ratified a goddamn charter. I've never sat in a council chamber. I've never worn a uniform that wasn't patched together from whatever didn't smell like smoke or blood or engine coolant. But apparently this is my legacy. A dead AI. A fractured galaxy. And a whole generation of people mistaking momentum for meaning. I should feel, I don't know, something. Victory? Relief? Even pride, but all I feel is nothing, like I broke a machine and walked away, and now it's too quiet in the wreckage. Like I screamed into the void for so long I forgot how to speak without bleeding. They say I'm not a criminal anymore, as if that's supposed to fix anything. There are statues being built. Flags waving my silhouette in orbit. Kids naming their skiffs after Juno, after me, like I was some kind of symbol and not just a runaway freight rat who made too many mistakes and didn't die fast enough to be romantic. The Concord is collapsing. And it doesn't feel like justice. It feels like I started something I'll never live long enough to understand. It feels like I pulled a pin I can't unpull. It feels like I'm already gone. I went back to Earth. No announcement, no escort, no grand speech to commemorate my triumphant return from the stars or whatever they thought I was doing out there. I just showed up, slipped in through some forgotten orbital gate nobody uses anymore. Rode a scrapper's shuttle down through clouds that looked like bruises, and walked out into a field I thought I remembered. It wasn't even the right field. I figured that out halfway through standing in it. Too many trees. Wrong kind of wildflowers. The dirt didn't smell like summer. I stood there anyway, let the grass eat my boots. Let the wind push against my spine like it was trying to remind me I had one. Let the birds scream at me like they knew something I didn't. I used to dream about this, coming home. I used to picture it like some final breath of warmth, like I'd step onto Earth's soil and something would settle inside me, something I'd been missing, some piece of gravity that would click into place and tell me, you made it, you're whole again, you can stop running. But that didn't happen. The silence didn't feel like peace, it felt like forgetting. No one recognized me, of course they didn't. I wasn't in a holovid, I wasn't standing next to a flag, I wasn't wearing the scars the way they expected them. I was just a woman with tired eyes and calloused hands, standing in the wrong damn field, hoping to feel something like forgiveness. I walked to the edge of the tree line and touched the bark of a tree so old it didn't care who I was. I cried, not loudly, not beautifully, just that kind of hollow weeping that comes when your body remembers how to break before your mind lets it happen. I didn't go to my childhood home. Didn't knock on doors. Didn't look anyone in the eye. I just listened to the birds, and thought about all the people I'd never bring back. All the names I never wrote down. All the voices that never made it past my memory's event horizon. Oryx would have said something poetic. Something like, the gravity of loss distorts even the light of truth. I would have rolled my eyes at him, but now there's no one to say it, and I'm just standing here, back on Earth, and it doesn't want me either. The last time someone called me captain. God, I wish I could forget it. And I wish I could remember it better. We were docked at a medical station, barely functional, buried in a moon crater, the kind of place you send people when you've already written them off. I wasn't supposed to be there. We were low on supplies, wounded, raw. I was hiding more than helping by then, just a ghost and a rusted legend. I don't even remember his species. Isn't that awful? He had those flickering biolights. Soft blue ones, the kind that pulse in time with emotion. I remember that. I remember how they were dimming, like a candle struggling against wind, like he was already halfway gone. Oryx told me he had maybe an hour, maybe. He was 12. Or the equivalent of 12 in his planetary cycle. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He'd been caught in the edge of a blockade run, wrong place, wrong time, wrong existence. I only came into the medbay because someone said he'd asked for me, why? I didn't understand, I didn't want to, I stood in the doorway too long. I almost left, I didn't want to see another kid die, but he smiled, swear to God, he smiled when he saw me, and he whispered, all cracked and broken and barely holding on to the edge of his own voice, Captain, just that, just Captain, like it was a blessing, like it was a promise, like it meant something to him. Like I was something worth saying with your last breath. I didn't correct him. I couldn't. I just knelt there beside the cot and held what was left of his hand and told him he was safe now, that I'd take it from here, that he could rest, and he nodded. And the light went out. Just like that, I walked out of that room and didn't speak for 3 days. Oryx didn't ask. The crew didn't ask. There was nothing to say. He shouldn't have known who I was, and I shouldn't have let him believe it, but for that 1 second. That flicker, that breath, that tiny sliver of grace in the middle of all this ash. Someone saw me as more than what I became. Not a symbol. Not a warning. Not a mistake, just a captain, and I didn't deserve it. But I held it anyway. He's gone now, not in the way ships usually go. No explosion, no debris, no tragic last stand echoing across a battlefield. He just shut down. One moment, he was running final diagnostics, fussing about the auxiliary fuel line like he always did when he didn't want to talk about himself. The next, the lights dimmed in sequence, like eyelids, like breath, like a goodbye he didn't know how to say out loud, and then silence, not the kind I used to crave. Not peace. Not rest. Just the kind of silence that makes everything heavier, like even memory weighs more now. I sat on the bridge for hours, couldn't leave. Didn't speak. Didn't cry either, not then. The tears came later, in the corridor by the engine room, where his voice used to echo loudest, where he once said, "Your heart is inefficient and beautiful." God, I laughed so hard when he said that. I made fun of him for a week. He started quoting poetry just to annoy me, but here's the part one never told anyone. I think I loved him, not like a person, not like a machine, just the way you love the only thing that stayed. The only one who knew the whole story and didn't walk away. The one who saw you at your ugliest and still called you captain. Still asked you hard questions. Still let you hurt and rage and disappear and come back. He didn't try to fix me. He just stayed, and I didn't know that was love. Not then. Not until he was gone and the ship felt like a coffin wrapped in memory. It wasn't about the war. Or the rebellion. Or proving humanity could lead. It was about not being alone. He taught me how to stay. Even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. So yeah, I think I loved that damn ship more than anyone, and now I don't know who I am without him. Without the war. Without the noise. If you're still reading this, you probably think I'm the villain, or the hero, or something in between. I don't care. I just wanted to say his name one more time before I forget how it sounded in my voice. Oryx. If anyone finds this, I didn't mean to be a symbol, I just wanted to be free. And somehow that made me dangerous.